You know what today is. It's another Matchmaking Monday. No UFC this weekend, so we got to get a little creative. Last week we did the White House card. This week we're going to be matchmaking welterweights because, let's be honest, it's about time we get some of those boys rolling. Now we're doing it a little bit differently today. Of course, you see Islam Makhachev already on the board, but I actually haven't matchmade these boys, so we're going to be doing it live and in color. You're going to match make with me. I'm going to talk through the entire thing. I don't exactly know who I'm going to match up with. There's only one guy that I do know where he's going, and that's who's fighting the champ next. And we're going to start there. And it's the right call. It's the only call. If you have anybody else here, I fully disagree. It's got to be Ian Garry. It's got to be Ian Garry and Islam Makhachev for the belt next. Shavkat's gone. Oh, boo-hoo, Shavkat's gone. That is actually a boo-hoo. I don't feel great about that. Shavkat leaving the rankings. Was originally, I think, either 1 or 2 on this list before leaving, possibly 3. Now he's gone, and that is a bummer for the division. Hopefully he heals up. We're talking about another year, another 8-9 months without Shavkat Rakhmonov. But for me, that kind of opened the door for Ian Garry. I thought he already should have earned the title shot just with the layoff that Shavkat had already had before we got this last update. But Ian Garry's a motherfucker. And I know he's easy to hate. But he loses to Shavkat Rakhmonov, then goes out and basically blanks Carlos Prates, who's on a hell of a roll right now, and then beats Belal Muhammad. I think it's right. And we're talking about Islam Makhachev as champion right now. You got to have somebody that can do it all. And there's a lot of questions. I mean, you see the rankings down the list here. We're talking about guys like, of course, Jack Della Maddalena, who he got the belt off of. Don't want to see that twice, at least not anytime soon. Michael Morales, interesting, but still young in the game. I mean, he had a massive win over Sean Brady. Carlos Prates, I could lie, you could convince me. But that's just the star power of Carlos Prates. But that's really about it. We're not going to throw Belal Muhammad in there. So it comes down to kind of those 3. Those are your 3 options at welterweight right now. Next for Islam Makhachev, it's Ian Garry, Michael Morales, or Carlos Prates. Take your pick. I think Ian Garry is the most well-rounded, and I think the build-up will be the best around him. We're talking about a story as old as time at this point. A classic Dagestan versus Ireland. The Khabib Nurmagomedov versus Conor McGregor. The Paul Hughes versus Usman Nurmagomedov. Another iteration here. Islam Makhachev versus Ian Garry. And I've been on record. IMG Academy. Ian Machado Garry. I think he can beat him. The length, the size, the speed. It's something that we haven't seen from Islam Makhachev. And this is where things get interesting. Because obviously we saw what happened to Jack. You hope that doesn't happen again. But that is the benefit of Islam being champ. He can do shit like that. Lucky for us, we did get to see Ian Machado Garry grapple a couple times. And we saw him grapple with Shavkat Rakhmonov, held his own. We saw him grapple with Michael Venom Page. I get, not a traditional grappler, and Michael Venom Page didn't really know what to do. A lot of holding in that one. But we're talking about a guy in Ian Machado Garry that spent time all around the globe. Currently making news because he's out in motherfucking Georgia, digging up old Marab's old training partners to try to get ready for presumably this fight. That is something that just came out earlier this week. Ian Machado Garry currently in Georgia. But we also saw him down in Brazil with one Charles Oliveira and the team is Shootbox. The guy's a globetrotter. And I think he's going to do everything he can to be prepared for a guy like Islam Makhachev because you just got to be. And this division is very interesting with Islam at the top, which is going to kind of shape the way that I match the rest of the card. Now let's get on to it. I think the number 2 guy in the division right now is Michael Morales. I've heard a lot of chatter. This is going to be the toughest test for Islam Makhachev. The way that he ran through Sean Brady, the size of Michael Morales. This guy could fight at light heavyweight. This guy could fight at motherfucking heavyweight if he wanted to. He's that big of a boy, straight out of Ecuador. Now, who are we going to match him up with? Again, I haven't match made these yet, so Michael Morales is interesting, and originally I did have this spot saved for Shavkat Rakhmonov. You got the likes of Carlos Prates. You got the likes of Bilal Muhammad, the Kamaru Usmans of the world. Feels like you can't go lower than that, right? Jack Della Maddalena's still sitting there. Jack would be interesting. I don't hate that fight. I think you give him... This is... No. I kind of need him later. I was going to say Bilal Muhammad, but I feel like I need him later. Let's go back in. Let's go back in first, and then we'll kind of play the elimination game. Because if I'm being honest, this is what I want to do. Oops. If I'm being honest, this is what I want to do. I think the Carlos Prates, Michael Morales fight could be interesting. But what I want to do is Jack Della Maddalena versus Carlos Prates. I just think that would be a war on the feet. Just a striker's delight. Man, I'm touching everything but the right thing. A striker's delight. That's what I want to do. But who does that leave for Michael Morales? You know, you hate to say it, but he says he wants to be champ. Is this the right fight to make? Do you go Kamaru Usman in that spot? The guy was calling for a title shot. Hadn't fought in a year. Last time he fought was Joaquin Buckley. And the gripes were loud. When he was calling for that, people were screaming, myself included, like, they better not fucking do this. I think that might be the route to go. You go Kamaru Usman, Michael Morales. I would have loved that Shavkat fight. I'm kind of pissed that this is what it is. I think the other thing is like Carlos Prates versus Michael Morales. But I don't know if I'm ready to kill one off yet. I don't know if I'm ready to kill one off, especially with Islam as champ. Because it just feels like you want to save him just a hair. You want to give the guy challenges that are interesting. If he gets through Ian Garry, I want to see Islam versus Michael Morales. I want to see him versus Carlos Prates. I don't want to lose one of them here. We already saw him against Jack Della Maddalena. That's why I don't feel as bad sending him to Carlos Prates. And I think Michael Morales can handle Kamaru Usman. If he can't, then Kamaru Usman deserves a title shot. If Kamaru Usman gets through Michael Morales, I think that's the one that he can go, I still got it. I'm still here. I'm one of the greatest welterweights of all time. You give me my goddamn title shot. That is a fight that you can make that off of. I think that's the right fight to go. I think that's the right fight to go. I mean, if we're just talking about other iterations of that, do we like Jack Della versus Michael Morales better? Carlos Prates versus Kamaru Usman better? I think Carlos Prates versus Kamaru Usman is kind of interesting, just from the grappling aspect of it. We haven't really seen him outside of the fight with Ian Garry have to grapple. A little bit of grappling with Leon Edwards. He's just been knocking people out fucking cold. But that's actually, I don't hate that if we're just talking about fights. Carlos Prates versus Kamaru Usman. But the Jack Della fight would be so fucking sick. That's my only problem. Is like, that would be such a fucking sick fight. I'm going to keep it like that. I'm going to keep it like that. That's leaving us with Bilal Muhammad. And Sean Brady. Obviously, those two have already fought. Not ready for a rematch, so we'll set them there. I don't hate Joaquin Buckley in this spot. Speaking of Joaquin Buckley, where has he been? We're talking about Kamaru hasn't fought in forever. Where's Joaquin Buckley been? He's been in the same spot. He hasn't fought since Kamaru Usman, and that was a loss. So got to get him back on track. Give him Bilal Muhammad. Don't hate that at all. Also wouldn't hate the idea of Leon. I didn't pull Leon in this situation just because, I don't know why. But then it was really because of this guy, Gabriel Bonfim, and I didn't have enough room. Oh my God, I'm clicking everything. All right, let's look at this for a second. Let's have some fun. And let's really talk about it. Because, again, I match made this with you. I did it fast. I'm not sure I'm right. But let's see if we need to exchange anything in this list. So, Islam Makhachev, Ian Garry. I think that's the fight to make. I think the buildup would be massive. And I think Ian Garry, of the guys, has one of the better chances of beating Islam Makhachev. And it would be a true welterweight test. I'm discounting Jack. I apologize to Jack, but I didn't learn anything about Islam Makhachev other than the fact that he could hold Jack Della Maddalena down. I think we're going to learn something from this Ian Garry fight about how he actually stacks up in this welterweight division, because Ian Garry's a big fucking dude. I think he's like 6'3". Then we're going Michael Morales versus Kamaru Usman. Honestly, feels like hate to say it, and maybe I'm wrong, feels like a layup for Michael Morales, but also sometimes you just run into a crafty vet and you realize you're not ready. And that could happen with a guy like Michael Morales, who's, I think he's only like 26, 27 years old, just kind of cracked into the top 10 of this division with that win over Sean Brady. Could definitely be that. And if Kamaru Usman gets over, then you're right, Kamaru, you get that title shot. I think well earned, but this could also just be like, hey, Michael Morales is fucking next. Guy's a savage. Carlos Prates, Jack Della Maddalena is the perfect either fight night main event, gotta be an arena, not the Apex, or the perfect co-main event for any card. Honestly, UFC 327 in Miami, give me that fucking fight. We don't even have a headliner. That could headline it for all I fucking care. Carlos Prates is that sort of star. And then also when we're just talking about, not that it really matters, when we're just talking about the rankings here, it put Carlos Prates into the one spot. He beats Jack Della Maddalena. He's now the, at least in the eyes of the ranking, probably the number one contender. And we're looking at a guy that's also knocked out Leon Edwards, Jeff Neal, and then whatever happens in this JDM fight. I think that's going to be a real conversation of who's next between him and Michael Morales if these fights get made in like a reasonable course of time. Joaquin Buckley, Bilal Muhammad. This is kind of a get-right fight for Joaquin Buckley, who we saw just get dominated by Kamaru Usman. Another tough matchup, especially in the way in which he did get dominated. He got dominated on the ground. You know Bilal's going to be trying to do the same thing. That fight for Joaquin Buckley was supposed to be his kick the old guys out of the welterweight division type of thing. And he got turned back by Kamaru Usman. So let's see if he can get right with Bilal Muhammad and get back into that mix, because I do think he is interesting at the top of this. I think Joaquin Buckley would match up fairly well. There's a couple, I wouldn't hate seeing like a Joaquin Buckley, Jack Della Maddalena, or a Joaquin Buckley, Carlos Prates fight. Just with the power that dude carries in his hands, I think something special can happen. You remember the way he knocked out Stephen Wonderboy Thompson? Obviously, the Impa Kasunganai fight. Gross. Not counting out Joaquin, I think we might have reached the ceiling just with how stacked the top of this welterweight division is. But gets over Bilal Muhammad, you're right back on the right track, and we'll see if you can hang with the big dogs at the top. And then Sean Brady, Gabriel Bonfim. I mean, sucks for Sean Brady because he did feel like he was right on the edge of a title shot going into that Michael Morales fight. I think if he beat Michael Morales, there would be a real case. People would be looking at him going, man, he might be the toughest test, especially if he did what Sean Brady does, which is absolutely dominate on the ground like he did to Leon Edwards. People would have been talking about Sean Brady's going to be the toughest test for Islam Makhachev in the welterweight division had he got over Michael Morales. Unfortunately, it was bad, and it was bad quick. So he took a real hit from that fight. And now he's got to fight Gabriel Bonfim, at least in my projected rankings here. Gabriel Bonfim coming off of a Randy Rude Boy Brown victory, knockout, I believe, in the first round. Guys rising up the rankings. But Sean Brady's still a fucking savage. Do not count out the kid. See if we can get over Gabriel Bonfim, who's very similar. not similar to Michael Morales, but just a big body like that. So, couple get-right fights. A banger in Jack Della Maddalena versus Carlos Prates. Maybe a coronation when it comes to the world of Michael Morales and Kamaru Usman. And the biggest fight you can make at welterweight right now, Islam Makhachev versus Ian Garry. I'm pretty happy with this card. Let me know what you think. Let me know what I missed. As always, peace, love, and I'll see you on the flip.